I think it's a lot harder to be a point guard or a guard in general in this league because it's just such a stacked position all over the league. I mean, you look at Steph Curry, Clay, Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum, Kemba Walker. Like, those are just some of the names that are just so incredible, and that I think, like I said, it's kind of a lost art being a center that's like really good. So I think he can kind of spark that back up and really make an impression.
I love DeAndre Ayton. I think he really is a talented player. I see a little bit of Anthony Davis in him. I think he's tall, nimble. He's got the ability to step back and a jumper, but he's also a tremendous rebounder. He's got a lot of talent for inside in the post. And just that kind of general skill. I mean, we're seeing comparisons to Joel Embiid. Hopefully, Ayton doesn't have an injury, and we can really see what he can do. But in terms of adjustment, I think he should be good. I don't think he'll start right off the bat, but I do think as the season progresses and he really develops and kind of adjusts more so to the NBA, I think they start him because Tyson Chandler, he's a veteran. He's good. He's no LeBron James. He's no Kevin Durant. I think he's okay. I think he's a great mentor as a veteran to Ayton, kind of teaching the ropes. Tyson Chandler, obviously, tenacious rebounder, known for his rebounding in his career. Also has the ability to block shots at his size. So I think those facets of his game, I think he'll help Ayton with the transfer and really teach Ayton along those lines to really help DeAndre Ayton develop. In terms of play style, I really like Ayton. I think he's very well suited to what the NBA is kind of shifting to. You talked about earlier the kind of disappearing of the art of being a big man in the NBA. And I think it really is shifting. You look at players like Kristaps Porzingis, 7-footer, but not the prototype 7-footer that we're used to looking back in the history books. He's not Shaq, he's not Kareem, but he really is this talented guy who can handle the ball with grace even at 7 feet, 7'3". He's got the outside jumper. He plays rock-solid defense. All kind of traits that we're seeing, but they're all being kind of formed and transformed into what the NBA is looking for from its centers. You see DeMarcus Cousins early in his career, a bruiser inside, but he made the transition to more of an outside presence to back up towards the three-point line, adjust his game. And I think Ayton already kind of has that ability, which, rather than dedicating more time to crafting your art, adjusting your game to fit the NBA, I think he's already fit for that, which I think will make his transition easier, especially into a team like the Suns where you've got guys like Booker who can pop it from half court, who can also slash inside and get hard contact layups. The ability for Booker then to stretch the floor with a guy like Ayton, maybe take the opposing center out of the paint, really put the pressure on the opposing defense. I think that's really just a good fit for the Suns in Ayton, and I look forward to seeing what they're able to accomplish this year.
All right, Luka Doncic, hot takes. How do you think they'll adjust play styles, and is he a good fit for the Mavs, or was he a better fit for Atlanta?
I don't think he was a better fit for Atlanta. I think he'll be good on the Mavs. In terms of Doncic, he played in the EuroLeague. He was good in the EuroLeague, MVP, had nice stats, nothing too glamorous, but definitely a good player. But there isn't a whole lot on him, which worries me a little bit because, you're looking at these other players, a guy like Trae Young, who's on ESPN night in and night out for his incredible performance in college. You don't really see that with Luka Doncic, which, as an NBA fan, kind of scares me a bit because he is an unknown in my book. So how his adjustment will go, it'll probably go pretty smoothly because he's already a pro playing for Real Madrid. But I don't know how that adjustment will transform from the, we talked about there is competitiveness in the EuroLeague, but it is not the NBA. So I don't know how that transition will go from the level in the EuroLeague to, the basketball that is played in the National Basketball Association. I think he's got a good play style. He's an interesting player. I think he'll fit in very well alongside Dennis Smith. Smith is slasher. Doncic, the ability to do pretty much anything. And then I think he has a lot to learn still. But the Mavericks kind of trying to ease Dirk out of the NBA. Dirk, a fountain of knowledge that I think he can pour on to Doncic, make that transition easier. Dirk knows, being a European himself, what Doncic is kind of going through and what he needs to do to really make it in the NBA. So I really like that fit, especially Doncic being 6'8". He can play the 2, he can play the 3. He's got the skills of a point guard. So the possible combination of Smith, Farrell, and Doncic, I think could have a really exciting future for the Mavs.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, he's kind of unknown in this situation. Like he was averaging like 12 points or something in the EuroLeague finals or wherever he was. He won MVP for that. And I feel like maybe he's going to have to learn how to adjust to be more of a 3-point shooter, more of an outside shooter for the Mavericks, because he's going to have to utilize that skill. We know he can do it, but, I mean, like you said, he's not like Trae Young shooting from, half court, which is really, we can talk about this later, but I don't see that as a desirable trait in a player. That's not what defines a player, being able to shoot from half. I mean, it's cool that you can do it, but
spoken as a LeBron fan himself.
I mean, I don't think that it's that. I mean, when is that going to change the course of a game? Like,
Steph Curry.
Sure, Steph Curry, but I mean, how many more guys can you have that? I don't see why players try to model their game after a half-court shot. It's more. I feel like you have to focus more on being more of a team player. I mean, if you can hit it, I mean, props for you, but I don't think that's as helpful as making smart decisions, taking smart shots, and finding your players open.
I think we're getting a little off topic here. So back to Doncic. What's your opinion on him, and what do you think he'll do in the
NBA? Even though he's from the EuroLeague, I think it'll be a smooth, not so bumpy adjustment. I mean, he does have a fellow European who's a lot older than him, giving him advice, and I think he needs to worry about is adjusting more to being utilized more at the 3-point line. You got Dennis Smith Jr. who can go inside. You can keep Dirk Nowitzki off the 3-point line, bring him to the post where he's really good, and keep Doncic outside as a second option maybe. I think if you have a team with Luka Doncic as your second or third option, it's not that bad of a team. I think the Mavericks can have a real good turnaround season this season. Like the Philadelphia 76ers, they won a whole lot of games more than they did last year. I think it was their team that had the best turnaround rate in the NBA. So I think the Mavericks can kind of do the same thing with Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is really a promising player. So moving on to Michael Porter Jr. to the Nuggets. He fell down in the lottery. A year ago, if he was able to enter the draft a year ago, he would have been number 1 or number 2. But Michael Porter Jr. fell all the way down to 14. The last pick in the lottery, I don't think anybody thought of that. And I know you have some strong opinions, Adam, about how you can't draft a player based on potential. He did play 3 games, but that's it in college. He barely got to wear that Missouri jersey. So how do you think he'll adjust, Adam?
Well, let me start by saying this. I think he's an immensely talented player. I think he's got a lot to offer. You mentioned it. He's got a lot of potential. He's got good size, good ability. He's got hops for days. He's got a smooth jump shot, effort on the defensive end. He really is a good player, so there's nothing against him. That being said, playing 3 games in college does not do a whole lot for me. He's got bust written all over him in my book. You really are, you talk about that year in college, that one and done kind of mentality. But I think that 1 year does a lot because it's a transition, from high school to the college. So you're kind of already feeling the transition once again to the NBA. And I don't think Michael Porter really made a transition. So in my book, you're still talking about a kid straight out of high school who, put up fantastic numbers in high school. He had like almost 33 a game, which is great. Nothing against that. But you're talking high school. And to go from playing against kids who are, going home and doing homework, and rather than a guy who's like LeBron who's dedicated his life to playing basketball, that same commitment isn't there. And I don't think Porter's ready for the NBA.
I think he really put a lot of thought about how he'll have a lot of time to develop also in college. And, that injury took him by surprise. And I think that, I wish he could have played in college and have done that. But, if you're a player that knows he's going to come out of high school, and you're obviously... I think players back in the day who came out of high school were a lot better than Michael Porter Jr. coming out of high school. And I think that, if he had that mentality, he would have been able to do it. But, yeah, like you said, as of now, he's just a player straight out of high school who kind of cheated the system. It's not really his fault he got injured, but he didn't play more than, he didn't play almost at all in college. So can you really count it as a college year? That's what I'm thinking. So, yeah, how do you think he'll adjust, though? I think it's going to be a lot harder now that you're going to be playing against people who have gone to college and have had that extra experience. But I think his adjustment is going to be a little tough. He's definitely going to come off the bench, and I think that it might even take him a year or two to figure out.
All right, moving on to one of the biggest potential NBA players, Trae Young, a guy who was on ESPN night in and night out for his incredible scoring ability. Led the nation in points, led the nation in assists, definitely at the top of the list. What's your opinion on Trae Young?
Overrated.
Care to elaborate?
Sure. I would love to elaborate on how Trae Young is nothing more than a three-point shooter. I've said this already. I don't think that's the most desirable trait. I don't like the comparisons to Steph Curry because Stephen Curry in his defense can do so much more than Trae Young. Trae Young can hit the three-pointer unbelievably well, but you're only seeing the highlights on SportsCenter, and he has clunked so many more shots than that, than those few seconds of fame that he has had. So I think that he made the NBA because of those incredible performances that he had, like once or twice, right? His 3-point percentage was 36%, which isn't that bad, but he wasn't taking smart shots at all. I'm sure he was averaging 27 a game, but I don't see that. I don't think that his three. I think that's all he can do. He got 27 points a night by shooting 9 threes. In my opinion, some free throws. I don't think he's very talented in anything else. I think he's super talented at the 3-point line. But let's not get crazy with it. He's not. I think. As you would like to say, Adam, he has bust written all over it in my book.
I am in complete and utter agreement with that. As a guy who watches ESPN a lot, I got very annoyed with Trae Young very quickly, just because they wouldn't shut up about him. But, on a more statistic note, yes, it's impressive. He shot the 3-ball well. He scored the basketball well. But it's more than that. Because you look at other guys, DeAndre Ayton took Arizona to the tournament, where they were upset in the tournament, yes. But, his team was successful as